Have you ever sensed an unspoken part of yourself? Something hidden? Something waiting? Carl Jung once said, "The shadow is a part of you that you would rather not be." But what if making peace with the shadow could change your life? Let's dive into its mysteries together. Welcome, wanderers, to a journey into the depths of the self. Today we explore the shadow, a concept gifted to us by the brilliant Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. In our modern world of social filters and curated perfection, we're often told to suppress our faults, our fears, even our desires. But what if the parts we bury hold a key to our wholeness? Jung believed that within our shadow, the unconscious aspects we deny, lies both darkness and untapped light. Together, let's explore how facing this inner shadow might lead to the freedom and authenticity we so deeply crave. The shadow, your hidden companion. The shadow is the unseen twin of the self. Jung described it as the collection of thoughts, emotions, desires, and instincts that we've disowned, banished from the surface of our consciousness. These might be traits we were taught to reject, maybe anger, sadness, envy, or desires that didn't align with how we wanted to be seen. Picture your mind as a house. The shadow lives in the basement, the room we dare not enter. Yet, this room doesn't disappear. Its presence leaks into our dreams, our decisions, even the moments when we lose control of our emotions. You might say, "I'm a kind person," but notice the flash of resentment when someone crosses you. That's the shadow whispering, reminding you that no one is one thing, one way. Jung's insight is simple yet profound. The parts of ourselves that we bury do not vanish. Instead, they fester, gaining power in the underground corridors of the psyche. Think of a time you felt sudden, inexplicable anger. Was it truly about that moment, or something deeper? Perhaps it's the anger of your shadow trying to get your attention. Confident persona might hide deep insecurity. A smile could conceal unspoken fears. The shadow doesn't lie. It only waits. Why we must face the shadow? Facing the shadow can feel like staring into a mirror distorted by the things we've ignored. This is what Jung called shadow work, the process of bringing our hidden layers into conscious awareness. But why should we do this? Why walk into the basement when we've spent our lives crafting the perfect rooms upstairs? The reason is this: to find wholeness. As Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Ignoring the shadow only strengthens its hold over us. It seeps through passive aggressiveness in relationships, self-sabotage in careers, or unexplained moments of despair. But when we face it, when we name it, understand it, a strange thing happens. The shadow transforms. It offers not just its burdens, but its gifts. The legacy of fear can become courage, the remnants of anger, resolve. Imagine someone who has always feared failure. They avoid risks, sideline their dreams, and live within safe walls. But through shadow work, they might discover that their fear was protecting a deeper desire, perhaps the yearning for success or creative freedom. By integrating this realization, they can step into both the fear and the possibility it guards. The shadow in modern life. Even in our hyper-curated digital age, the shadow remains. Scroll through any social media feed and you'll see light-filled highlights, smiles, achievements, celebrations. Yet, how often do we share our struggles, our shadows? We don't post the fights we regret, the sleepless nights consumed by self-doubt, or the envy that burns quietly when someone succeeds where we failed. And so, we feel isolated, as if only we carry this secret darkness. Jung reminds us this isn't true. The gold is in the shadow, he says. The things we repress drive connection as much as they drive isolation. Consider the bravery of sharing your shadow with someone, a close friend, or even yourself, through an honest journal entry. in that sharing lies transformation. Why do so many of us suffer from burnout, anxiety, or a vague sense of not being enough? Perhaps it's because we're running, not just from tasks, but from parts of who we are. Yet the modern plight contains ancient wisdom. If we learn to pause and turn inward, we may find that confrontation invites healing. Shadow work in today's terms might look like therapy, mindfulness, honest conversations, or those quiet nights spent asking ourselves hard questions. Now, let me ask you, wanderers, what lives in your basement? What unspoken truths or suppressed feelings wait for your attention? Take a moment, even tonight, to sit with this question. You might find answers in journaling or during a quiet walk. Write down one thing about yourself you often avoid thinking about. What would it feel like to hold this part of yourself, not with shame, but with curiosity? Remember, the shadow isn't your enemy. It's merely a stranger within you, waiting to be known. In the end, the shadow isn't the villain of our story. It's the hidden chapter that brings depth and meaning. By embracing these concealed parts, we move closer to a radical truth. We are complex, multifaceted beings, neither entirely light nor dark, but whole. As Jung said, wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration. So I leave you with this question. Will you venture into the shadows, not to overcome, but to understand? Let your shadow guide you home towards the person you were always meant to become.